Hi, everyone. Good evening. I am Immigration Attorney Yael Brudner, and I am live today on Facebook and on YouTube. And I'm going to wait a little bit because it takes some time for YouTube to go live. So I believe I'm live on Facebook, but I don't think I'm live on YouTube yet. So I'm going to wait a few more seconds before I actually start talking about the topic of today, which is a really important topic and I'm very, very passionate about. So I am excited to talk to you about VAWA today and explain all about VAWA self-petition green cards. Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, I am Immigration Attorney Yael Brudner. Our firm, Brudner Law, is located in Orange County, California, and we serve clients from all over the US, all over the world, and we handle a wide variety of immigration cases. We do business immigration and family-based immigration, and we also do citizenship and a lot more different types of cases, almost all type of immigration cases. VAWA is just one of the types of cases that we do. And like I mentioned earlier, I am very passionate about this type of petition. I think it's so important to talk about because a lot of people are not aware of it and don't know that they can take advantage of this very important option. So let's start. Let's start talking about VAWA and what it is. And this is going to be recorded on both on Facebook and on YouTube. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments, or you can, if you're watching the replay of this, you can also still write them in the comments and I will get back to you, or someone from my team will get back to you as soon as we see it. So let's dive in and let's talk about what VAWA is. So VAWA stands for the Violence Against Women's Act. And this is actually a federal law that was signed in 1994 originally, and it kept getting reauthorized in Congress. And it protects the rights of people that have been subject or are subject to domestic violence or extreme cruelty. It's a very important law, and contrary to its name, it doesn't apply just to women. So it does not exclude men, it includes men as well. So that's something that a lot of people don't know. The Violence Against Women's Act also applies to men. And in the context of immigration, it applies also to individuals that do not have legal status in the US or are here in the US in a non-immigrant status. So people that are not green card holders or not citizens, it also applies to them. So it's a huge benefit also immigration-wise. And that's what we're going to focus today, a little bit about how to use this important law to petition yourself for a green card. Okay. So who can apply for a green card under VAWA? So there are specific categories of individuals that can apply for a green card under VAWA, and it's spouses and ex-spouses of US citizens or lawful permanent residents. And when I say ex-spouses, I'm referring to people that have been married to a US citizen or a green card holder within the last 2 years. So if you can still apply for VAWA if you are divorced from a US citizen or lawful permanent resident, as long as this happened in the last 2 years. Okay. Other categories that can apply are children and parents of US citizens and lawful permanent residents. Okay, so there needs to be a family relationship to a US citizen or a lawful permanent resident. That's what you need in order to apply. And there's specific eligibility requirements to apply for a green card based on VAWA. Okay, remember, when you're applying for a green card based on VAWA, you do not need a petitioner. You do not need your, for example, US citizen or green card holder spouse to petition you. You are doing the whole process by yourself. You are what's called a self-petitioner. Okay, so there's no sponsor here. You are your own sponsor. And that is very important to understand. You can even apply under VAWA if your spouse or other family member started the process for you, but then did not want to continue it. So let's say, for example, if you got married and your spouse started a green card process for you, and you already filed some documents or papers with immigration, and now your spouse is saying, no, I don't want to continue the process for you, and kind of hold you onto that. You can continue the process without your spouse and just convert your petition to a self-petition. And a very important thing to know is that this is without your spouse's knowledge. So your spouse will have no idea that this has happened because this entire process is confidential. It's a huge, huge thing. A lot of people are worried about applying under VAWA for a green card because they're worried about what would happen if their spouse would find out. Your spouse will not find out. The whole process is confidential. So it's a very important factor to know and remember. Okay, so what are the categories or what are the eligibility requirements? What do you need to have in order to apply? Well, first of all, like I mentioned, you have to have that family relationship. You have to, like we mentioned before, you have to either be the spouse or the ex-spouse or the child or the parent of a U.S. citizen or a lawful resident. And you need to have suffered abuse or extreme cruelty by your U.S. citizen family member or green card holder. Okay, and that's where a lot of people stop because they say, no, I didn't suffer abuse. I didn't suffer physical abuse. And this is something that I'm so passionate about telling people and educating people that VAWA doesn't protect only from physical abuse. Yes, if you suffered from physical abuse, you should absolutely apply for VAWA. You should do whatever you need to do to protect yourself, to protect your family and your children, and go to the police and report it. But it's not necessarily a mandatory requirement. You do not need a police report to qualify for VAWA. Okay, when the law is talking about extreme cruelty, they're talking about emotional abuse, financial abuse, controlling behaviors, threats, to deport you if you're here and you do not have status, if your spouse is threatening to deport you, if their spouse took your passport, if your spouse is holding the immigration process against you, saying I'm not going to petition you, or I'm going to stop the process, I'm not going to go to the interview with you. All of that is considered abuse. It's considered extreme cruelty. Okay, so a lot of things can go into to a relationship, and when you suffer from extreme cruelty from your family member, it's not just physical. It can also be emotional. It can be psychological, financial, a lot of different ways and variations of it. So that's something that's really important to me to talk about, so that people will be aware of. Okay. Another thing to know that in order to be eligible, so you have to have suffered extreme cruelty or battery from your spouse, your ex-spouse, or your family member. You have to have, if it's a spouse, you have to have a good faith marriage. So the marriage that you got married to needs to be a good faith and a real marriage, and you would provide evidence with your application similar to what you would do in a regular marriage-based green card case to prove the relationship. Another requirement is that you have lived with your U.S. citizen or green card holder abuser, and you have to have lived with them at some point. You do not need to have lived with them now. If you are in an unhealthy relationship, if you are suffering from abuse and cruelty behavior, you do not need to stay living with that person just for the process of immigration. You can move out. You can go be somewhere safe where your children are safe. You can protect yourself. You do not need to be living with that person at the time that you file. Okay, it's very important. You just have to show that you've lived with that person at some point in your relationship. Another factor is that you have to be in the U.S. Okay, there are certain cases where you can also apply from abroad, but generally speaking, you have to be in the U.S. and you have to be a person of good moral character. So there's certain crimes that if you committed that would bar you from applying for a VAWA green card, for self-petitioning yourself. So those are pretty much the requirements. I'm going to repeat them. I wrote them down here, so I want to make sure that I have everything, that I'm not forgetting anything. So you need to have a family relationship. You have to have suffered either battery or cruel behavior from your spouse. And I'm going to emphasize that again. Doesn't need to be physical. Cruel behavior, emotional abuse, financial abuse, psychological abuse, threats, things like that constitutes extreme cruelty that qualifies you under VAWA. You have to have entered into the marriage if it's based on marriage in good faith. You have to be lived with this person at some point during your marriage. Another thing is that the abuse needed to happen during the relationship, okay, while you're married to this person. That's another requirement. And then you have to be a person of good moral character and generally speaking in the US. Okay, so those are the requirements. And if this is something that you're thinking about, you should definitely consult with an immigration attorney. I always say hire an attorney for immigration. I always advocate for that because I feel that us immigration attorneys, we do this often. We know the law, we know what immigration is looking for, and we know the requirements. So we can guide you and we can make sure that you qualify, and we can, check to see that all of the requirements are there before you file. Okay. Benefits of the VAWA petition. So, filing for VAWA, for a VAWA green card is a huge option and a huge relief for a lot of people that are stuck in relationships that are not healthy, or people that are suffering from problems in the relationship. And being able to petition yourself is a huge benefit by itself. But other benefits of the VAWA self-petition is that you can you do the whole process here in the US. So even if you came in here, without inspection, you came in here without a visa illegally, that is waived for VAWA. You do not need to leave the country or ask for a special waiver for that, if that is your situation. So it waives your illegal entry if this is relevant to you. Another benefit is that you're entitled to a work permit while you're waiting for the process, and the work permit is relatively fast. Within 5 months, 6 months, you would be able to work here with a work permit and a social security number. So that's a huge benefit. Another benefit is that you are not subject to the public charge rule, or the public charge inadmissibility factor, and which is a huge benefit because they're not looking into your financials. Remember, you're not having anyone sponsor you, so you don't need anyone to financially sponsor you as well. So that's another benefit. If you want to learn more about VAWA, we have on our website a guide for VAWA green cards, and it could be very interesting. I put the link up here for you to read more. So basically, VAWA green card is basically you as the immigrant, as the person, the beneficiary or the applicant, you are petitioning by yourself without a sponsor. Okay, what you need to do is you need to have a family relationship with an American citizen or a green card holder, and you have to have suffered some kind of extreme cruelty or abuse by the US citizen or green card holder. So that's pretty much what I wanted to discuss today. It's a very important topic. I feel like a lot of people are not aware of it. A lot of immigration attorneys don't screen for it. I always screen for it. I do ask, my clients if this is something that is relative to them. Not necessarily everyone brings it up when they come for a consultation with a lawyer. So it's something that you should definitely keep in the back of your mind. Think about this, if this is something that is relevant to you. If you know anyone that this is relevant to them, please feel free to share this video or send them our information. I'm going to put it up here. Definitely consult with an attorney. You can text us, you can call us, you can email me. This is my personal email. So I get all these emails directly to my inbox and I answer every single one of them. So that's all for me for today. Feel free to reach out anytime. I would love to help you and discuss your case. And in the meantime, have a wonderful week. And until next time, I'll be here next week, same day, same time. Bye, guys.